Hey guys, this is Daniel and Dustin. Welcome to Flying Chariots The Rise. In today's episode, we will talk to Austrian researcher Gunnar Hiptmair. We will talk about an interesting topic today because Gunnar is currently researching ancient resonance chambers in Austria. What this is all about and what these chambers may have once been used for is what we talk about today. And guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a like, a subscription, or a nice comment.
So this would be maybe a little repetition of what I just said. There are some of these chambers, which you will see in the video, which I call resonance chamber. It's not that I would like to say I invented this term or something like this. It's just like frequency chambers, sound chambers, resonance chambers, because I have this very strong feeling that in the past something was done there by the use of frequencies and sound, especially sound. We found out that you need to natural sounds like your voice, singing, throat singing, overtone singing, or some flutes maybe. We also found out already that the reference tone, I hope this is okay in English, this term, the main frequency these chambers are functioning in is 432 hertz. This is something your musicians should know about. Meanwhile, a very, very important frequency because it relates to the vibration of the earth, and also it relates to our physical vibration in first place. So like we have this in our bodies. I'm interested in, let's say, old rituals, what people tend to call mystic. It's just time for me to look a little bit behind these myths which are hanging around these things. Time to explain some of these rituals these people were using, or at least try to find out what some of these rituals could have been used for, or it's about your maybe astral journeys, guided meditations, initiations in some kind of priesthoods. We don't know enough yet about these things, but I have this very strong feeling that this is a chamber which was once used for this also. I really think that there were more things they did with these chambers, and my research in this direction is pretty new now, since I decided this last autumn, a few months ago, to really go deeper into this topic. I know this chamber now since a while, but now the time is right to focus on this.
Talking about sounds and frequencies, what did you try out already inside those chambers?
We were there. I was there several times, and I was also visiting this chamber with some friends of mine. Not so much yet. No, I would say first we realized actually that there is something going on in regard of sounds and frequencies, because when you are inside of this chamber, you only need to talk very silently. You don't want to raise your voice because it's immediately getting too loud somehow. It's getting exhausting. It doesn't feel right because some frequencies seem to be amplified inside of these chambers. The geometrical shape of the chamber also indicates that some frequencies are maybe changed, octavated a level higher, especially the high notes. And in some certain places, you can really hear that when you go closer into one of these side parts of the chamber, bass frequencies are amplified intensively. I think that in the main chamber, you make the sound, and then the sound gets transported downwards to these little tubes on left and right, in this case, to the lower chambers. And we are still in the beginning to find out what's really possible. I started giving guided meditations inside of this chamber,
Hmm.
only with close friends, only with, it sounds a little bit weird, but only with people I decide, people I know from their heart, also really close friends. I don't want to do this with the public, with foreigners, because it's also important what kind of thought patterns you have, what kind of programming from your whole life, actually, what you bring into these chambers, because this also resonates. There's lots of quartz crystal around in the walls. I
Hmm.
would say partially, yeah, up to 50% of the material inside of the wall is quartz crystal.
Hmm.
And we've been talking about this yesterday also with Daniel in this German podcast, that I think it's time that we really consider the qualities of quartz, what you can do with this piezoelectric effects and many other things. Quartz is capable of doing total strange things. With, yeah, in parts we know this today. We are using these things. We are using quartz for storage in our memory cards and computer systems. It's also possible that he can store almost everything that's happening around a crystal or a stone which is full of this crystal. And there's also the possibility to activate. It was very interesting actually yesterday when we touched this point. How do you activate these things? And I tried to explain my point of view, that it is in accordance to your programming, to your inside programming. You won't activate things which are not connected with you. This is what I really believe. This chamber contains lots of memories from the past, I would say, and it also could give information to you which is important for you in your life. Not maybe not for anyone else. No, this is something I would like to find out. This is why I started giving this guided meditations also, because it's interesting. We also said this yesterday. One very important part for me is this self experience that people make inside of these chambers, and hopefully they tell me what their experience is. I will also respect when there are some things happening which they don't want to share, because it can become very personal. It can get very close into your inside somehow. There is
Hmm.
something going on. This is what I also experienced by myself, that thought chains could be triggered, feelings, emotions. We just don't really know yet, how this works and how I can direct these things. You can learn lots of stuff. I'm here sitting in front of parts of my library. There's lots of this occult stuff behind my back. I'm also into Hermetic philosophy since many years now, because I like this approach. And but this also points at the fact that at least you have to be careful. You might meet both energies, which we would call positive or negative energies inside of these chambers. You need to be careful what you think. You need to be careful what you wish for. This is the same like in your whole life. Be careful what you wish for. You might get it. Be careful what you ask for. And this is something which also works inside of these chambers. And at least for myself, I'm quite sure about this fact.
Where are these chambers located? Where, like, say, where you are at? Do you have to go miles, or is it under the
This
city? Is it out in the forests?
this one specific chamber here is like 1 kilometer away from me, situated below an old farmhouse, where we find many of these things in my home area. But like I said before, not all of them are looking like this one. Maybe Daniel can also provide you later with some pictures. You will also see something in my video, these plan drawings from other underground facilities. Interesting is they are not laying very deep. They are
Hmm.
between 2 and 4 meters below ground.
Okay.
And in my area, in all of Austria, the facilities we know, which are connected to this case, it's not like normal caves. We have natural caves in our mountains, limestone stuff. But what's very important for me that here in this area is these things are all built inside of a stone which contains quartz. It's like sandstone, sandstone contains quartz. In my area we have lots of granite, and there are some mix between these stones. But this is very important part for me. I think that they all contain lots of quartz, huge amounts of quartz.
And this is interesting. We talked about this yesterday in the German podcast. There is this guy came up with the theory that Stonehenge could be a very big hard disk because quartz can store stuff. If you only knew how to put it in and how to get it out, because nowadays we know how to store stuff on our hard disks and memory cards, but back then, or if you only have this stone, this quartz stone, now we don't know how to put stuff in it and get stuff out of it. So these resonance chambers are very interesting when it comes to this theory.
Yeah, I also think so, and we've talked about this. Like we use quartz today, we use electricity to store things and to get things back. And in my opinion, this is also possible with light. Light can do so. You can put information inside the quartz crystal and take it out again. Because when you learn or when you take a look at how some people, healers or anything like this, are working with quartz crystal, to clean the quartz, you need running water. You can take salt to wash your crystals, but to really activate them, you have to place them into sunlight and moonlight. Again, you can see both energies, sun and moon. Okay, this all would go too far, to explain how all these things are connected, but it's important. And I believe that there is also a chance to do this with sounds and maybe other frequencies which are also part of the sound frequency, but in an inaudible range for us, like infrasound or ultrasonics, which we can't hear anymore. And this is also what happens to us, to ourselves, in our world with all these frequencies, whether this is Bluetooth or this 5G or whatever is broadcasted out there. It makes influence to us, to our body, because first we contain lots of water in our body, and also lots of quartz crystals, little tiny quartz crystals in every single cell of our body. So there is a connection. In my opinion, you can really dive very, very deep and try to learn about these things. But like I also said yesterday, it is up to you to do so. I try to provide what I can with my research in regards of these things, but I'm sure that I can't cover every topic. It's just too much. And what I surely can't is influence your own experience, your own approach to these things. You will find things. If you walk this path, you will stumble over the things which are important for you. I think in synchronicities, not coincidental things happening.
I think this might be interesting for Dustin also. Yesterday, when we had this podcast, you talked about a friend who had a very, let's say, strange experience in one of these chambers. Can you talk about it?
You mean the story what happened during the guided meditation?
Yeah, with the face.
We started this meditation. So first you enter this chamber. In this case, my friend didn't know the chamber. He wasn't there before. And you can take your time, to be there and just get your impressions in first place, because this is also important for me, how you feel, if you like it, or if you would step into any kind of fear or uncomfortable feelings, because if this is too much, I would even interrupt this experiment. You have to be prepared somehow, but you can't even consciously do this, in these chambers, whether these chambers trigger something or you dislike them. There is actually not much happening in between, whether you like them really or you say, nah, I don't want to enter this. I don't feel comfortable there. Then we went through this process in the beginning, a little, cleaning the space, a little chanting, maybe a little soft music to really settle down. And then we started this meditation, and afterwards he told me, in this moment when we really actually started in to step into this guided meditation, a face appeared on the ceiling. He was laying in one of the lower chambers, and we only had candle lights, so there's not much light in these moments, because actually you close your eyes. Best sometimes it would be even complete darkness to shut off your physical senses. When it started on the ceiling, a face appeared. It looked a little bit like the face of a gorilla, he said. Yeah, this is what he explained. On the end, he tried to say to me, yeah, lay down on my place and try if you can see it for yourself. I couldn't. So this is a message for him. This is something or someone watching him or watching over him. He didn't feel uncomfortable. It was just a little bit, yeah, taking his focus off of to fall 100% into the meditation, I would say. But he didn't feel uncomfortable. He didn't say that he was afraid or anything. Just from the very moment we stepped into the meditation until the end, this face was there, not really moving or anything, not changing, but like watching him, you know. And you can have this kind of experiences. Like I also said, it could be that it seems that a shadow is like, you know, uh, uh, moving by or something, or even audible illusions. I would call them, and I don't know how to really say it. It's a personal experience you can make on different levels. Like you get goosebumps, or you have strange feelings or good feelings, emotional ups, emotional downs for a short period of time. Because if this would be constant, like I said before, if you would constantly feel uncomfortable or fear anything, I would interrupt this. It wouldn't work, because it takes your focus. You need to be free of these things to step into. Also, this is why I make guided meditations, because when you have a little story which you follow, a voice you listen to, it's easier to create the pictures and to keep the focus on the story. You don't step back into your own thought process, your own thought chains. And this is one of the stories, yeah, that could happen inside.
That's
Thanks.
wild.
Yeah, it's wild. A face like a gorilla. What do you think, Dustin?
I'd be wigging out.
We heard about
Wow.
spirit animals, Dustin.
Mm.
Maybe something like this. I don't know. Because he
Yeah,
said
but I
gorilla-like face.
also said you can have a look into this totem story. In first place, I would say it would be really important for me what what this tells to the client, I would say, in this case. Also, again, in regard of the feeling, then you can think about this. Okay, what kind of energy might be transported through this animal or anything like this. It could be very interesting, but it's up to you, I would say, to step into this investigation in first place. There are lots of explanations, what some animals stand for. You have to use your feeling also when you want to
Mhm.
find out what happened, and especially in this type of guided meditation, this is a journey to the halls of Amenti, if you know these things. This is like a non-physical thing. Thoth, the Atlantean, built below the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's not like you step into a real physical hall. You just do this mentally. You do this in your imagination. And it's very, very powerful, very interesting guided meditation, which leads you towards yourself, towards your soul plan, why you are here, and very interesting stuff. When someone tells me, there was someone or something constantly observing me, and again, without fear. He didn't feel fear. So it could be his, I don't know, spiritual guide in some metaphoric meaning or anything like this. Because you will meet both energies there. You surely can meet the good and the bad side of yourself. Again, I would say inside of this chamber, because both energies are residing there. It just,
That's amazing.
we say this is good and bad, positive, negative. This is this duality. We always have these two sides, and we need some kind of explanations. If you can really find a neutral approach to these things, you can really step into this kind of experience, because both sides have something to tell you. About shadow work. You need to take care of your own dark side. You need to bring light into your own dark side. Yeah, and maybe it could even be a little bit darker creature taking care that you do so. These are all guides for us. Like I said, I'm in this occult stories since many years actually. There's actually no need for fear, because nothing can happen. On the end, we are divine beings. You know, we are supreme divine beings. It's just nothing which is this, like, let's say, common knowledge or common programming in our wake state minds.
You know, the man-made chambers that you're just talking about remind me a lot about Malta, with the underground chambers that they were hundreds of feet down and it's carved out of solid rock. It's
Yeah.
just, that blows my mind. Does it like give you kind of that feel too, where these were just these man-made were just meant to be acoustified, or even using the sounds to even levitate rock too?
Also, yeah, this is
Yeah.
what I also said before. That there can be so many things we can do with these chambers. And
Yeah.
Malta is a
Mhm.
very good point, because a good friend of mine, she is a historian, and she's giving very, very interesting underground tours in Vienna. She knows a lot about underground, and she was traveling the world since many years. She also was in Malta in this hypogeum. She was here 3 years ago giving a presentation, which I organized. I was talking about my stuff, not this resonance chambers, my other research. And a geomancer was also here giving a presentation, and Gabriele was also there talking about underground facilities. And the day before, I showed her this chamber, and on the end, she said, she has seen so many underground facilities. And she said the only thing which she could compare this with is this hypogeum in Malta. She has never seen anything like this. It's just, you don't really see this on the video. Maybe if you watch the whole, you can see this picture where my lady is inside of the chamber. The chamber is very small. It's 1 meter 20 in height and 1 meter 50. This is not big. If you just watch the pictures, you can't really see that this is actually so tiny little thing. But still, she's very powerful. This chamber still has lots of power. We have to find out more about it.
Right. And the quartz crystal is very important because I think all ancient societies use it.
Very, very, very important. And I think
It is.
that quartz even has more properties, more qualities than we know
Yeah.
already. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Also connected to consciousness stuff, because we can reach a point where we can communicate with the quartz crystal only with our consciousness. It's not like some people think, oh, I talk to stones, nah. But I know from my own experience, like, the stones are telling me stories. It's just not like if you would read a book for someone. It's not like
Hmm.
this. It doesn't happen like this. You get a flow of thoughts, maybe some pictures, maybe yeah, some kind of feelings, whatever. It cannot be a total mix up. It's never like someone would tell you a story. But
Mhm.
you have to listen. You have to learn how to listen to the inner pictures, all the things which are going on, and turn your thoughts inwards. Again, we're in this Hermetic teaching, actually. Know thyself, or get to know thyself. Learn about yourself. Be honest to yourself. You can't fool yourself. Once in a while, you will learn. You can't. You can't deny your shadows, and you also have to acknowledge your light parts, because we are all great beings. It's just covered with lots of, society bullshit, programming, and
Yeah, I get that.
Here comes the video.
Daniel said there won't be much of a sound, but Dustin, if you have seen the video, like
Yeah,
on
that's
YouTube,
amazing. Wow.
the sound you hear on the video is actually from my telephone. It's from an app, because I just wanted to have some sound. I placed the candles inside to make it look nice, because this is actually it's not fully the first time since I present this chamber to the world. I did a video some years ago, but this time it was really great. It was nice. I was alone there. I was there for, I would say, 2.5 hours inside of this chamber, and I tried to picture some things. You can see some scratch marks on the wall from
Oh yeah.
the times how, when this chamber was built. And also, when you watch the full video later, you will see the second resonance chamber, which looks far more accurate, also in the geometrical shape. This one here is far older than the second one. And this is like one of these tubes leading down, and below this there's another small chamber, but without any of these parts which are carved inside. It's just, you can see it is great. You can even imagine how nice it feels to be there. And you can see
That is
the shimmering of the quartz on inside of the walls.
yeah, it's beautiful. And like the carving, obviously, too, is just looks like Malta. Just like what I've seen. That's insane.
This chamber is actually, she's small. Okay, altogether it's very small part, but still big enough for a human like in our size, to move there and to do something. It could have been carved from people like in our size. But if it would take a look at some other of these facilities we have with the tunnels and stuff, they are between 40 and 60 centimeters, these tunnels. And I don't know, 4, 5, 6, up to 14 meters long, just like in one direction horizontal. How do you dig this? You can't even move inside of these things. So we have to consider that maybe these things were made by different creatures, smaller ones than we are.
And this rock in the middle that we see right here, is it for somebody to sit down? Do you think it's for this purpose, or?
I actually think that this stone was used to close this, what we would see as the main entrance inside of this chamber today, for acoustic properties again, because if there is an opening in a resonance body, the sound would be influenced. It might go out or anything. I think when they were using this chamber, they were sitting inside and closing this entrance area to have real resonance room, where only these two tubes are the openings to where the sound should be projected to. But today, this opening is a little bit too big. The stone doesn't really fit there anymore. I also have the plan to build something, to be able to close this hole inside. Because I think that the sound is even different when you close this hole.
It's astonishing. It is beautiful. And
And this is,
it's ancient.
yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
There are
man.
these big discussions between these people who are researching these underground facilities since many years. I'm not a
Yeah.
cave researcher. I just stumbled over this years ago, and now I know what I want to do with this. But they are always like almost in a fight between the time dating, because some say, surely this was made in medieval times, let's say maybe up to 1,000 years ago, and the opposing party says, nah, this is all far older. I also believe it is older, but this is one of the reasons why I don't step into this discussion, because I can't prove neither of these things. And take a look at this hole, for example. it goes into the rock, spiraling like the inside of our ear. You can take a picture like how the tiny little things inside of our ear work, and I don't know where it leads to. Sometimes people think, yeah, this might be an air shaft, because you always have fresh air inside of this chamber. They think it might lead upwards, but I'm not so sure, because in the lower chamber here, there are also these three holes coming out of the wall. And there's, as far as I know, there's nothing behind this chamber. So I think that these tubes were intentionally made to do something with a certain frequency you produce inside to transport them down to the lower chambers, the higher frequencies, because the base frequency is transported through the bigger tube.
Wow.
This is pretty obvious. And here you can see this plan drawing. This is on the downward side. You see the main chamber, which is so nicely carved, and left and right you see these two tunnels leading down into the smaller chambers. Actually, from your side now, the left one, the smaller one, is actually a little bit bigger than it is on this drawing. But the chamber on the right side is where I place my clients for these guided meditations. And you can also see on the upper part where they built the house upon this structure, that it might be that there was a second chamber, a second resonance chamber, like the one you've just seen now. It's just not there anymore. This was destroyed when they were building this house upon. And there are so many ideas. There are so many theories we have in regard of what you can do with this. Female and male singers, energy stuff. This is a drawing from another facility, which also contains two chambers, but most of these other facilities where you can see the plans in this video, you can't go there and visit them anymore. They are closed. In modern times, some of them are destroyed because of building something in this area. So I'm very, very lucky that I still can enter this chamber. This one, I don't know if I can enter. This is another one, also all in my area. This is a little bit further away, let's say 30 kilometers, but it shows the same things. These things are connected, and I would even say these connective tunnels are almost at the same size like in my little chamber here. And we have so many of them. We also
Wow.
find them in the forests partially. We find them on open fields where there are no houses. And now when you take a look at these pictures, you really get the impression of technical drawings,
Oh yeah.
because you can't use them for anything. People are asking and guessing, like a hiding place or a storage for food and stuff like this. It just doesn't work. You can't store food. It would rot away, because it's moist there and so many things. It doesn't work, and it's surely not practical.
Very interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
I will put a link to your video below this podcast here so people can watch it and have their own opinion on it.
Yo,
And thank you for sharing those informations with us. Let's save some of the informations for another talk.
there's still lots of stuff to say.
Yeah.
And there will be lots of new things in the future, because like I said, I started now to take a deeper look, and what's going on right now is totally incredible, because I get so many nice new connections to other researchers from different topics. Now we are breaching this border to the research around the Knights Templars, who were also here in this area and who also knew about these facilities. And it's just boom, this is just exploding now.
That's great.
It is. I'm totally happy that I can do what I do here.